I'm going to read a story that I wrote a couple of years ago. It's called Foam and Dust. Once upon a time, in the land of far away, lived a beautiful girl. Her hair was the deepest, darkest blue, and fell over her white shoulders to her waist. She lived in a seashell on the shore of the Emerald Sea. Every morning she walked the shore looking for what the sea had given her, and every night she floated with the seaweed and looked up at the stars as the tide carried her along. She lived all alone and longed for her family under the sea, her father Tide and her mother Moon. But since the monsoon had torn her from her home and thrown her on the silver sand, she had become a silent walker. Her name was Catherine. One day, as she was walking, she spied a red-brown mound on the white sand. She came closer and saw a boy lying on his stomach. He lay quite still. His eyes were closed, and long green tendrils of seaweed were in his hair. She gently rolled him over and looked upon his brown face. The movement roused him, and for a moment she looked into his brown eyes. With difficulty she lifted his large body and slowly took him home. As he recovered, he began to tell his story, and she silently listened. He told of a land far to the east, where herds of horses raised a cloud of red dust to the sky, and the thunder of hoofs was as loud as the sea. His father had commanded him to marry, but no one had satisfied him, not even the rich and cold Lady Elaine from the north. In a rage, his father had cast him out, commanded him not return until he found a suitable bride. So he wandered until he reached the sea. There the mermaids called to him, and he tried to reach them, but the current had been too strong for such a weak swimmer, and the last thing he remembered was the reflection of the moon, like a pale ribbon upon the sea. Catherine silently listened to him with wonder, for what could be as loud as the sea, and what was dust? As softly as fish sing, she said, "What is your name?" He barely heard her, but guessed her question. "My name is Anthrax, tamer of horses." After some time Anthrax was quite well enough to venture forth, but he did not walk along the shore. The sea seemed too cold, too wet, and he feared its clutch. So when he was quite well, he asked Catherine to come with him. He would take her home as his bride. Catherine was unsure. To leave the sound of the sea and the scent of the spray seemed strange and frightening, but to be without him seemed worse, so she agreed. After many days, the sea was behind them, and the smell of salt turned into the odor of grass and soil. The closer they came, the more excited Anthrax became, and the further they went from the sea, the sadder Catherine became. Finally, as they came over the last hill and saw thousands of galloping horses with tossing manes and the dust like smoke, she sank down and told him she could go no further. Anthrax was overcome with sorrow that his heart's desire had wounded the girl whom he loved. He called a tall horse and carried her in his arms back to the sea. Even the sight of her seashell did not revive her, so mounted on his horse he carried her out into the waves and down into the sea. "No, no," she cried when she woke to find him floating in the waves. "There's another place for us." She lay his sagging form across his horse's saddle, and pulling the horse's bridle they emerged from the waves. They walked across the dunes and up into the uplands. Higher and higher they climbed, the girl leading the tall horse and the boy slumped and clinging to the mane. The path wound past waterfalls and through meadows until they reached a grove at the top of the mountain. Catherine slowly helped Anthrax down, where he could feel the east wind on his face and smell the dust of his homeland. A short distance away, Catherine sat facing west on a granite boulder and saw the sea glistening in the distance. Together, this is where they can make their place, and this is where they lived on the mountaintop for the rest of their lives.